Hi, it's Gold Morning Bradonna. It's Tuesday, July 7th, 2015, 4:31 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it's dark in here. I actually have the pretty lights, but I don't have the camera pointed anywhere that they would be. There's just the light from the window and the computer monitor. I'm feeling exhausted today. Really tired, a bit dragged out from some nightmares I've been having recently. I kind of touched upon it in my paper journal that I'm working on now, but even then I wasn't being completely detailed with myself. Like maybe years down the road I won't even know who I'm talking about that I dreamed about. Which is fine, because if I've reached that point where I wouldn't even think of that person, great. But I guess what bothers me is that this is like the third dream in recent days that this person has been in it. And I don't usually dream of people I know, although it happens time to time. Usually it's, the strangers in our dreams. So when I remember vividly, somebody specific appearing, that's something. And then when it happens like 3 times within recent days, and I say days because I've stayed up all night, so I've slept in the morning, early afternoon, or I've had a crash nap in the evening, or I've slept a little bit partially at night and in the morning. So I can't exactly say at night. So these, it's just happened 3 times now, and it's not that, oh, I'm so freaked out, or oh, it means something to do with them. It's not that. It's just obviously they're standing for something, that in my world, in my brain, and, I would guess it's fear of some sort. Like if I connect it to my experiences with them and that relationship, I guess it would have to do with that, or uncertainty, or loss, or so. I'm not sure. Like I'm trying to work that out in my paper journal anyway. A little bit, but not really, because I won't write that extensively on it. It's like I don't want to write about it because I don't want to have another dream. Which is silly, because I haven't written about it and I'm dreaming it anyway. It's like I don't want to encourage it. It's like, let's not encourage the brain to focus on this too much. But the brain, while I'm sleeping, is going, yeah, let's think about this. I don't know. Brain stuff. So that's my off-topic rant, but I don't have to be on topic, do I? This is my own vlog. So I was thinking about a comment left by somebody, and I wrote a little bit about it on my online journal, goldmorn.livejournal.com, GOLDMOURN. And I reacted more to the comment there because somebody had wondered what my YouTube channel was about, and I was thinking, well, I've had my YouTube channel since 2006. It's not themed. Like, how could it be themed at this point? I would have to get rid of like 400 vlogs and decide, okay, I'm going to be a book channel, I'm going to be a journaling channel, I'm going to be a rambling about nightmares channel, I'm going to be about anxiety channel, I can't do that because, for one thing, I don't want to. That's the biggest reason. Secondly, while I know that specific genre channels are very popular on YouTube, and that's how people are making the money, I don't want to fragment myself even more than I already am. I'm already this way. Why would I you know, and I don't want to limit myself. I don't think, I guess maybe some people might think that you're dipping into genres or whatever, communities on LiveJournal that maybe you shouldn't, because if you were a booktuber, your channel would be all books. And if you're a journal person, there isn't a name yet for that community, but it's really growing for those who keep journals. If you're a journaler, your you know, your channel would be specifically sharing your journals. And if you're an ASMR artist or fan, where's your, you should have all ASMR videos. And actually that probably does help to have all ASMR videos, but I don't want to do that, because like I said, lots of videos. Don't want to have several channels. It's annoying, because we have, me and a friend made a second channel for like a collab project, and even that's a pain in the butt to try and you know, it takes away from your own personal channels, but it's a great way to collab. But even then, it's it still feel, I don't know. And also there's this thing that I think is that, well, clearly, you know, I have more than, I have various interests. I love journaling, I love writing, I love books, and I love music, which I haven't even delved into on this channel, which is another thing I wrote about in my LiveJournal. I have a vinyl collection, I have a cassette collection, I have CDs, I have, you know, a really big iTunes library that is embarrassing. I love to scrabble music with Last.fm. I don't, I would love to talk music. I would love to share. And then there's more than just that. I enjoy photography. I've traveled a little bit. But then there is the stuff that, like, I have, I've had, you know, I've had some experiences in life that I could talk about and relate to other people about. And there's my life right now, which I have to say I'm in between a lot of turmoil as far as emotionally, with some decision making and changes and some people, you know, particular persons in my life. And then on the other end, I of that whole, while that's going on, I have this space here that's very comfortable, and I have a supportive partner, and I'm fortunate compared to some years of struggle, and I'm making a decision. I've got this decision in mind, that I'm going to uproot us from this space. I'm gonna give up my book room and give up some semblance of stability and uproot us, so I can follow my heart back to the city I love, which could also be, I don't know, there's a lot that I could talk about instead of just like trying to make this vlog, which totally went off topic. You know, this was actually gonna be about this. Like, it took me forever to read this book, and in a couple of my journal collection videos, or I think I kept running into, like, I would have mentioned George Orwell or something, and I would be like, it's so weird, I'm reading him right now. And it was actually mostly very, very dry reading. It was, I mean, it's great if you're a gardener, which if you are, that's wonderful, because it's really good for you to have that connection to the earth. But I live in an apartment building, and I'm not like, I'm not doing any of this, but not that I haven't been exposed to farming or gardening. I did live in a rural area for a long time, but I mean, this was dry sometimes. I was like, oh great, that's how the weather was, and you got some eggs, and okay, good job. But I read every single word. And then there was the war stuff. I'm like, it's gonna get interesting. But not really. And then, not that it wasn't uninteresting. I think this was good for me to read in that it was good to, I guess what I got out of a lot of that is that he was writing this dry stuff while also at the same time writing the amazing books that we know him for, which I'm not going to say books that aren't by him this time. Animal Farm, 1984. Let's stop there and not attribute any Upton Sinclair to George Orwell. But he wrote this while he wrote creative works. And I was thinking, well, that you know, that's actually probably something that's going to sit with me, in that, well, it's not just because it was, for the longest time, especially before his era, it was very common to keep diaries for most everyone, for reflection and day to day, and for remembering things, and for keeping track of stuff. So I know we have a wide variety of ways that we keep diaries and journals and notebooks, and ways for expression, or to-do lists, or planning, or outlets for therapy, or everything, scrapbooking. Everything that we use it for now is quite broader, I think, than the way they used to be used. Anyway, it's fine. But then I think of other people who wrote diaries and journals, which is why I love to read these, and why I didn't give up when it was dry. Because I think it just reminds me of how, like, some of this, it just reminds me, like, he did share thoughts about politics and various things, like, throughout, like, a little bit. And it just reminds me of how we do notice stuff going on around us. There's big events happening around us, and sometimes we don't realize just how big they are until time, history. But life continues, usually, unless you are in the midst of the chaos. Life continues on for most of us. I mean, right now I'm sitting in this book room talking, and maybe I shared a little bit about, nightmares, about my thing, but there's things going on in the world that are, and I'm writing in my paper journal about fasting and nightmares and possibly moving, and that's what I'm writing about in my little world. Well, there's so much beyond and in history. But does that make it insignificant? Well, I guess so, but I don't know. It's my life. Anyway, I wish I was feeling a little better today. But that ties into what I wanted to share. He got, when he wrote some notebooks while he was, like, in the hospital, when he was in the hospital, he wrote this, and it's kind of lengthy, but it's one page, but like I said, it's really tiny print. But it's really, I think this will, now I think he was really hard on himself, or maybe I just took offense because I'm like, hey, wait a minute, I'm sick, with various things, and I don't want to call myself stupid, but I could also at the same time relate to what he said, because I've noticed the change in how I write and express myself when I'm really unwell as opposed to when I'm doing better. I would say right now I'm kind of in between, because I'm not able to like write poetry or prosaic pieces, or my writing is it's not very moving for me even right now, but I'm plodding along because I need to write, and I know that eventually I break through that stuff. But anyway, so this is his diary entry, and it's sometime in, it's in 1948. When you are acutely ill or recovering from acute illness, your brain frankly strikes work, and you are only equal to picture papers, easy crossword puzzles, etc. But when it is a case of a long illness, where you are weak and without appetite, but not actually feverish or in pain, you have the impression that your brain is quite normal. Your thoughts are just as active as ever. You are interested in the same things. You seem to be able to talk normally, and you can read anything that you would read at any other time. It is only when you attempt to write, even to write the simplest and stupidest newspaper article, that you realize what a deterioration has happened inside your skull. At the start, it is impossible to get anything onto paper at all. Your mind turns away to any conceivable subject rather than the one you are trying to deal with. And even the physical act of writing is unbearably irksome. Then, perhaps, you begin to be able to write a little, but whatever you write, once it is set down on paper, turns out to be stupid and obvious. You have also no command of language, or rather, you can think of nothing except flat, obvious expressions. A good, lively phrase never occurs to you. And even when you begin to reacquire the habit of writing, you seem to be incapable of preserving continuity. From time to time you may strike out a fairly good sentence, but it is extraordinarily difficult to make consecutive sentences sound as though they had anything to do with one another. The reason for this is that you cannot concentrate for more than a few seconds, and therefore cannot even remember what you said a moment ago. In all this, the striking thing is the contrast between the apparent normality of your mind and its helplessness when you attempt to get anything onto paper. Your thoughts, when you think them, seem to be just like your thoughts at any other time, but as soon as they are reduced to some kind of order, they always turn out to be badly expressed platitudes. What I would like to know is whether enough is known about the localization of brain functions to account for this kind of thing. It would seem natural enough if the effect of illness were simply to stop you thinking, but that is not what happens. What happens is that your mind is just as active as usual, perhaps more so, but always to no purpose. You can use words, but always inappropriate words, and you can have ideas, but you cannot fit them together. If mental activity is determined, for instance, by the supply of blood to the brain, it looks as though when you are ill, there is enough blood to feed the areas that produce stupid thoughts, but not the ones that produce intelligent thoughts. Again, I think he's really hard on himself. But, I read this, and I thought of how, when you have depression, now, further to that, when you have depression, it can be hard to even be interested in the things that you're interested in. For instance, concentration, as you mentioned, concentration, I find it really difficult to read, and I love reading, to stick with reading for any length of time when I'm feeling depressed, or when I'm very anxious or troubled about things. I find it hard to stay on task, or to have, to keep with things, or to believe in myself, to be able to express myself creatively. I have this fear of even trying. I mean, I think that I could write poetry, but then I also think of how, when I haven't done so for a long time, there's all this gook that has to come out first, and it's a tedious process because it's just all crap, and then I'm afraid of what might come out afterward. Like, even if it's good, what is really there? That do I really want to go there? And so I'm just like full of too much fear for someone at this age, honestly, because it's not like I have forever to live in debate. I mean, I feel that writing has saved me more than once, and I feel that expressing myself is a key part of what I'm here for, what I do, what I am, and I frankly just block myself so much. Part of it could be self-preservation, but it's not like I can stop it. I mean, the nightmares, I have nightmares anyway, and there was a time, even when I was really sick, where I used those nightmares and I wrote creatively about them, and I used the content of the nightmares, and I think I was stronger because of it, because I could use it as material and use it, I could stare it down, whereas now I find that I don't even want to try. And that's not true. I wouldn't speak of it if I didn't want to try. It's just I'm finding it difficult too. Anyway, the way that our brains are affected by illness. Now, he had a physical illness when he wrote this, that, he died of, chest stuff and whatnot. But, I've dealt with physical pain and, as well, various illnesses. And I think of, I think of how active my brain is, and I'm not the only one with like a super active brain, always running kind of thing. I think a lot of people, especially people who are into writing, have that, and that's why I think it's partly why we need to write, why we need to create something. We need to express ourselves, we need to get the words out, because not only is it overwhelming to people who are in our lives if we're always rambling on like this, but maybe that's part of why our brains keep going on like this, because we're not getting it out. That's why I'm really thankful that I have been writing more lately, but I also just find it frustrating that I'm trying a little bit with it, but I'm not going full out with it. And I think fear is really holding me back. I don't think Orwell was completely correct as far as, I don't think we become stupid. I certainly think it's harder to write when you are dealing with illnesses, mental or physical, but I don't think necessarily it means that you'll never have the phrase. Certainly if you're used to writing easily and brilliantly, if you're uncomfortable with any sort of pain, mental or physical, it's going to affect your writing and anything else that you enjoy. But I don't necessarily think that it would make you stupid. I think that the words are there. It's just harder to get to them. It takes more energy. So this was a really long vlog, and it got very dark. Poor lighting skills. I am not a professional, but I appreciate if you listened all the way through. I shared a little bit of various things, so I needed to talk for a bit, so that helped. And I'm gonna have to filter the crap out of this video. It's just way too dark. But anyway, thanks, for sticking around.